You know, kids today, you don't know how lucky you have it. You get to grow up with the Dragon Prince. My generation had to grow up with Dudley the Dragon. You do not want to grow up with Dudley the Dragon. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. Hello, my friends. Welcome to Thumb Together TV. My name is Andrew Fantasia. Today we're going to be talking about The Dragon Prince Season 3 together. As usual, if you enjoyed this video, please feel free to give it a thumbs up and give some love to that subscribe button as well. And if you're a fan of fantasy like The Dragon Prince, chances are you are going to be a fan of Side Scroller. This is my book. I wrote it, and you can buy it now on Amazon in paperback or in ebook format, whichever floats your boat. Side Scroller is an adventure fantasy set in a world that runs on the logic of video games. Don't miss out. Buy a copy now. Leave a review on Amazon. It helps me out a lot. In the 3 seasons that we have gotten Dragon Prince, we have been given this absolutely gorgeous, vibrant, colorful world full of characters who are very, very, very human, even the ones that are elves. So the folks behind Dragon Prince, they get that, baby. And it's rampant throughout all 3 seasons of the show. You will not find a single character who is two-dimensional. And that is one hell of an accomplishment. For me, the biggest takeaway from Season 3, though, was that finally, Season 3 finally ends with what feels like a season finale. If you go back and watch my last 2 reviews of Seasons 1 and 2, I love the show, I love the characters, I love everything they're doing with the story, but I had the same complaint both times, which is the finale does not feel like a finale. It feels like just another episode, and then bada bing, bada boom, it ends, and you're like, where's the rest of my show? What happened? This is not the case. This finally, it took them a year and a half to get this far, but they finally understood how to write a finale and make it feel like one. And oh boy, does it ever feel like one. I'm an avid reader of fantasy books because I tend to write so many myself. I like to read them so I have an idea of what the genre is like. So I'm always reading fantasy books. And lately, within the past couple, I want to say 3-4 years, I've been devouring all these fantasy books, and I've noticed that they are all very different from what you would expect. They all skew away from the Lord of the Rings aspect of things, where they're not really throwing in elves and dwarves anymore, and they're not really throwing in huge battles anymore. That's something that you notice if you read modern fantasy. Modern fantasy is much more in the vein of the Star Wars prequels when they're at the Senate and the backstabbing stuff that goes on in the Red Keep in Game of Thrones. It's all very political, it's all very human and zoomed in, and it's fine. This isn't a complaint. Books of the modern era tend to shy away from full-scale battles. You don't get battles like Helm's Deep in fantasy anymore. That probably hasn't happened since Tolkien wrote the Battle of Helm's Deep. For the first time in recent memory, a non-Tolkien fantasy gave us a huge, epic battle between 2 very big armies. And the Dragon Prince ending with this battle, it warmed my heart. It reminded me of those Christmases long, long ago when I was in high school, and I spent 3 Christmases in a row devouring and obsessing over the Lord of the Rings movies. Because remember, those films would always come out in December. They always came out at Christmas time, so that's what they remind me of. When I think of Lord of the Rings, I think of Christmas time. And Dragon Prince is doing the same thing. It has come out at the end of November, right at the kickoff of the Christmas season here, and it's reminding me of holidays yore when I would watch a bunch of elves and humans and Nazguls beat the crap out of each other on a huge battlefield with intense music, and lo and behold, same thing is happening here. Minus the Nazgul, of course, because that would be plagiarism. But I'm getting off topic. The Dragon Prince Season 3 delivered, I think, the most powerful, emotional human stories. Ezram having to deal with being king at such a young age and bearing all that weight on his shoulders. We feel how exhausted he really is. We feel how angry and scared the other kingdoms are. And when Prince Cassif, or whatever his name is, wants to attack and he's blinded by rage, we understand why, even though this guy's a giant douchebag and we just want him to leave Ezram alone. We understand everybody's motivations. Even Viren, who is a horrible villain doing terrible things, we understand why he's doing them. He feels slighted, feels hurt, and from what I gather, maybe you all disagree with me, maybe you don't, but it seems to me, from what the past 2 seasons have been telling us, I think Lord Viren was in love with the queen. He won't admit it, but it sounds to me like he truly was in love with that queen, because his whole thing is like, let's avenge her, let's go get our magic and invade, but we're gonna avenge her. And maybe he's saying that to spur the king on, but I don't know. I feel like it's deeply personal for Lord Viren, and I like that. I like that they threw that in. But in my opinion, the character who stole the show is the other villain, Erebos. Erebos is flippin' terrifying. He showed up in season 2, and we have no idea what his deal is yet, but he's trapped somewhere for some reason, probably because he did some nasty things once upon a time. I wouldn't put it past him. And now he's continuing that trend by doing some more nasty things via Lord Viren. What I loved about this season was as Erebos got more and more powerful, that little caterpillar thing that he uses as his mouthpiece gets bigger and bigger, and by the time Viren has this thing draped over his shoulders like Britney Spears with that boa constrictor, I was just like, oh my god, that thing is hideous, somebody kill it. You know, it's only going to keep growing. And in that final scene, spoilers if you have not watched this season yet, when that thing is pulsating in a cocoon and Claudia and Viren are just huddled in this cave wondering what is going to happen next, they're in the same boat as us. We don't know what's coming out of that cocoon, but all we know for sure is it's a safe bet it won't be pretty, and it won't have good intentions in mind. The quest to bring the Dragon Prince to his mother is finally over, which really helps give this a sense of finality, but we know it's not the end because we know that there's still more to happen with Erebos and Viren and Claudia, who are now, I guess, our trifecta of villains. It's really sad that Claudia had to turn to the dark side here, but that's the beauty of that conflict. At first, we thought she was going to be the kind-hearted one and her brother was going to be the big, stupid oaf who fights for villainy because he doesn't know any better. Now, that's flipped on its side. Soren is one of the heroes and he just wants to help the good guys out and be a nice person. And Claudia, despite her frustrations, is sticking to her father because it's her father. And no matter what he's doing, she'll stand by him. I love when shows turn our expectations on their heads like that. And the Dragon Prince with Claudia and Soren has done that wonderfully. Are we going to have to wait 9 months for season 4? Dear Lord Baby Jesus, I hope not. But at least we have a sense of closure with this season that we didn't have with the other two. At least we have a sense of finality and a sense of closing one book, even though another one might be right on its way. I could not be happier with how The Dragon Prince Season 3 turned out. It is definitely my favorite season of the show so far, and it's one of the best things to hit Netflix this year. So that has been The Dragon Prince Season 3. I'm Andrew Fantasia. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you all here next time, and until then, adios.